Welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel, with myself, Jacob Coleshaw, Sam Yuko, and Charlie Zazera, as usual, back to discuss the classic, one of the games of the season. Rotherham United 0, Watford 1 at the New York Stadium. The stadium name is so impressive. But lads, what are we giving Rotherham as an away day out of 10 first? I wasn't there yesterday, but Sam and Charlie were. Sam, what do you reckon?
Cracking day out, I can't lie. Rotherham's not the most amazing place, but pub beforehand, incredibly cheap pints. They were like £2.10 the pints in the pub. So I had a few in there before.
I'll ask you for £2.10.
I don't even know the name of it, to be honest with you. I think I just looked for the cheapest one and just had a few, to be fair. And then Welchie bought along the baby Guinnesses as well. And
were you going to say something else then?
Yeah, it got a bit loose, but I mean, it was a terrible game of football. I think Charlie summed it up best on the Matchday TikTok. Make sure to go check it out. That was one of the worst wins ever, I think you said, or something along those lines. So I thought it was a good day out, to be fair. Watford winning away, can't complain too much.
Charlie, why was it one of the worst wins ever?
That game of football was difficult. I felt we were just trying everything we could not to win. It just felt like, again, we've had so many games recently, trying to put a bit of context in it. Like, we've had those 3 games. They look tired again. Rotherham were terrible. I think we were terrible. It was just a slog. I was just thinking that they're going to score, but we're just lucky they're the worst team in the league, because I think any other team might have got a result. But winning away is always good. So, yeah, I had a good day as well. So it was good.
It also ends our sort of winless run since QPR, right? Our last away win was QPR with a Jake Livermore brace, which I'm still harping on about, and that was January the 14th, I want to say. So a month on, Watford have got another win. It finished Rotherham 0, Watford 1. Make sure to leave a like on the video. First up, subscribe to WD18, comment down below your thoughts, whether that's in the live chat or in the comment section below. Bit of housekeeping first off. 23rd of March, I'm going to keep drumming that bell. We've got the WD18 Cup at West Hart Sports Club. The link is in the description below to donate, so make sure you do get involved there. We've got the teams confirmed. We're getting names announced. And if you missed it, Sam, who's going to be joining us on the day?
We've got Tom Cleverley coming down now on the day, confirmed. Ex-Watford captain, ex-England, Man United centre mid, now the under-18s coach. Buzzing to see him down there.
What a man. Piero Mingoya is another one who's going to be announced. That might be a bit of an exclusive there. Obviously, Piero was on last week as well, so make sure to do check out that video. Some really interesting insight, actually, on this Watford team and the tactical element of it as well. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do. Lads, let's start off with this one, because, Sam, I like to think I'm quite a half glass full kind of guy. But yesterday at full time, I came away half glass empty, because despite us winning and despite Asprilla scoring a lovely goal, I felt there was more negatives to that game than there were positives, personally. I felt it wasn't the Watford maybe we saw earlier on at the start of the season. I know there's a lot of reasons for that, but it felt like we were basically relying on a bit of individual brilliance to bail us out once again. Am I being a bit harsh? Do you disagree with that, or did you see the game very similarly to that as well?
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of being harsh. I think you mentioned there in terms of half glass full, half glass empty. And I think that's exactly how people view this game. I viewed it personally as half glass full. I think with how tired the team is at the moment, with the strain that everyone's going through at the moment, small squad as well, number of fixtures. It was a tough game yesterday. I know Rotherham are poor, but they were difficult to play against, I thought, at times. And to be honest with you, I was actually quite proud that Watford were able to get the win yesterday. I wouldn't say I was proud of the performance, because, like you say, Jacob, it's not the Watford that we saw at the start of the season. But I think with everything that the team's going through at the moment and everything going on in the background, I think it's massive kudos to everyone for getting the job done and getting the 3 points. Look, come the end of the season, it's unlikely that anything's going to happen too drastic. We probably won't break in the top 6, probably not going to get relegated. We'll be around where we are now, but you look at the points on the board rather than individual performances. So I'm proud of the win yesterday, to be honest.
Charlie, were you proud?
Don't know about proud, but just a bit of relief, maybe. Like, it was important to get out of the bad form that we were in. I think we've had a lot of performances this season where we've played well and lost. And yesterday we played poorly and won, so it kind of equals itself out. Remember games like against Ipswich, Southampton. It's kind of like the tougher teams where we've played well. So, yeah, probably a bit of relief. We've got Huddersfield next. It'd be great to follow it up with another win. We need to get back to winning ways at home. The home form's been a bit of an issue for me. Away form still pretty good this season. I think Sam put out a good tweet about our away form. I don't want to say the words about last season. But relief, and we've got Huddersfield. If we can back that up with another win, and if you look at the Premier League table, it's quite satisfying for anyone with OCD. I think it's 11 wins, 11 draws, 11 defeats. But I think if you look at the team yesterday and the team that finished on the pitch, obviously we had Sierralta, the Chilean Pirlo, back in his favoured role as a 6. I think towards the end, we still had Tom Dele-Bashiru at right back. I think Tom Ince was playing like as a wing back at points. So I think, again, it's good to get that result. And I think Val said as much in the post-match. He said all he wanted was a win. And I think in the scenario we were at, I think it was important. Kind of felt similar to that Cardiff game when we stopped the rot and got a point against them, and we built again. For sure.
Should we take it, actually, before we take it right back to the start with the lineup, because I always look at the ratio on the quote tweets of Watford's lineup announcement. And if there's a lot of quote tweets, there's a lot of comments, and more often than not, people aren't happy with the lineup. And I know a lot of people were a little bit confused by it. The only thing I wanted to throw over to you, Charlie, do you think that result papers over the cracks a little bit of some of the Watford performance yesterday? Because playing devil's advocate here, look, as I said, I don't think it was pretty. We got the job done. As Sam said, it was a case of getting the job done. Val said in his post-match presser, it didn't really matter how we did it. It was just making sure we got 3 points, particularly with the run of form we're on. Some people are frustrated by sort of the style of play, in inverted commas, kind of disappearing a little bit. Probably most notably, the energy in this Watford team looks really low at the minute. I think that's probably put it down to a bit of squad depth. You then look at maybe some of the patterns of our play have gone missing. Is it unfair to say it papered over the cracks a little bit, do you think? Or
I think everyone knows what the cracks are. So, like, it didn't matter if the boys played a lot better and got like a 2 or 3-0. That we still know what our issues are. We played 3 games in 6-7 days, travelling away to Norwich, another tough game. We know what the issues are. We know we've got a small squad. We know actually one thing that I saw recently, which I was a bit disappointed about. I can't remember whereabouts I saw, but it was looking at Watford's kind of stats this season, and it had different kind of categories. I should have prepared a bit better, but I was about to say, like, it's disappointing because I thought we were going to have a lot of intensity for the start of the season, and one of our lowest metrics this season was the intensity, and that's something that Val spoke about. So I think I put it down more to a kind of personnel thing that he hasn't been able to instill that intensity, but I know there's other people who might think it's his fault. But Jacob, what was it actually like watching the game from, if you're watching it on TV or a laptop, whatever? Because did we just perform really badly? Did we look tired? Like, why was there no intensity?
I think the first thing to say from watching from home was I thought that particularly in the first half, the atmosphere in the Watford end was really good, and a lot of Rotherham fans had mentioned it. I think it dropped off a little bit in the second half just from home, and then in terms of the actual performance, it was scrappy. I don't think we had real control over the game. I don't think Rotherham did either. It looked like 2 pretty poor teams going at it, if I'm honest. And I think man for man, we've easily got a better team than Rotherham. But I think maybe that drop in energy leveled it out a little bit. And I don't know if it was the same in the stadium, but the pitch didn't look great. No. The conditions didn't look amazing. It felt like a real old school championship game where, now reflecting on it and sleeping on it, we just had to get it done by any means. So I think maybe at the time I probably didn't be satisfied with the performance, if I'm honest. I felt in the first half, I think we had 1 shot on target. We didn't create a lot. Then the second half, it felt that it was going to be a bit of individual quality that got us through it. And there we go, Yasser Asprilla once again with a sweet strike. And then from that point onwards, when you've got the 1 goal lead, it was just a case of seeing it out. And I think the one big positive for me yesterday, Charlie, was actually defensively. I thought we looked pretty sound. Now, that's not to say that Rotherham are the best team going forward, but I thought Hoot and Pollock dealt with their threats well in the air. I thought even Tom Dele-Bashiru could be better on the ball, but defensively did okay. Lewis, I thought, struggled at times. The 2 centre-backs, though, were probably the main positives for me. Sam, I wanted to take it back to the start and the starting lineup, and we are going to talk about Watford's best starting 11, so stay tuned for that and get involved in the comment section. Let's run through it. Ben Hamer in goal, Tom Dele-Bashiru at right back, Matty Pollock, Wesley Hoot and Jamal Lewis making up the back four. Francisco Sierralta, as Charlie mentioned, in that number 6 role, with Edo Kayembe coming back in to start for the first time in a long time before his injury. Partnering Ishmael Kone in midfield, Ken Sema on the left, Yasser Asprilla on the right, and then Milita Rajovic through the middle. What was your initial reaction? Because I'm going to quote you on this, Sam, and I'm going to bring up the receipts. I saw a downwards emoji, hashtag Watford FC.
Yeah. I love Tom Dele. I love him. I think he's brilliant in midfield. I just don't get it at the moment with Ryan Andrews not starting games. I understand that Val said it's about managing minutes, but it's been a while now, hasn't it? It's been 3 or 4 games in a row. And I mean, equally, you could play the reverse and say, what about managing Tom Dele's minutes as well? But that's a bit baffling to me still. I thought we'd see Emmanuel Dennis start, to be honest. But he's probably still not fully up to it. I know he didn't have the best game against Norwich the other night. In the video after that, YouTube broke down those stats, which were just ridiculous. It just wasn't really a team that filled me with too much excitement, to be honest with you. Jamal Lewis at left back, I wanted to see him dropped as well. And we'll talk through that on the when we go through Watford's best lineup later on in the video in terms of who should be playing at left back. But I was just a bit underwhelmed by the team. On the flip side of that, I thought some of the players who came in were excellent. I thought Matty Pollock had arguably his best game in a Watford shirt. I know it was against Rotherham, but I thought he was excellent yesterday. Probably our man of the match. Good to see Kayembe out there. It wasn't vintage Kayembe, but I think we know that he's probably going to need a few games to get fully up to speed. So, yeah, I think in hindsight, like Val said, it was just about getting the 3 points done. But I want to see those changes in the 11. I want to see Ryan Andrews starting again at right back mainly.
Charlie, thoughts on the lineup?
Do you know what I was surprised about? Edo Kayembe coming straight in. We've seen Val ease players in from fitness, and obviously Edo, who I think is quite an important player, you could tell on this Watford team. I was shocked to see him come straight in after he's had an injury. I think he came on against, was it just Norwich where he came on?
Yeah, it came off the bench. That was his first return.
And then straight into the lineup. So I found that interesting. Good to see Pollock back in after Porteous got suspended, which I think we forgot to mention last time, but Porteous got 2 game suspension now, so he'll miss Huddersfield on Saturday. So good opportunity for Pollock, and I thought he was outstanding again, like Sam said. We'll get to see if he should be in the best Watford 11. And yeah, I like to see Asprilla back. We touched it before. He's got magic in those boots. He won us those 3 points. I think he's won us quite a few games this season. I remember Sheffield Wednesday, which was actually a really similar game to that, really low on quality, and he was the one who bailed us out. I'm sure we're going to talk about Asprilla because there's been a lot. I was moaning last video about stop trying to sell our players, and I had a tweet. Someone asked me who stays out of the players who started yesterday, or who, and I had to think about it, and I was kind of like, oh, what's going to happen next season? And I thought, now we'll get one more year, but I think in this situation with the ownership, I think with Asprilla, I think sadly they're going to look to cash in the summer. I still think you got Kone who might stay a year longer, but I think Asprilla they might look to cash in. What do you guys think?
I guess the question is, how much do we think he's worth at the minute? 20 years old. He's played 70 plus games for Watford over the last 2 seasons, including off the bench as well. He's in the Columbia senior squad. Sam featured 3 times. And Newcastle, Brighton have been linked. There was links to Sporting Lisbon recently in the January window, Everton as well. If you're Gino Pozzo and you're getting the offers coming in, which inevitably they are in summer, how much do you want for Yasser?
Yeah, I think there are 3 good assets for Watford at the moment, which are Ryan Andrews, who recently signed a new contract, Ishmael Kone, who's really stepped up this season, and Yasser Asprilla. We're really seeing the magic from him. So I think it's a case of either we get rid of one of them for quite a substantial fee, or 2 of them maybe for less fees. I think the big difference with the Asprilla and Zhao, I think Asprilla, I think, still trying to find his best position, whether that's centrally or on the wing. And I think also, I just don't think he's going to be as valuable because clubs know that Watford need money. So we're going to have to sell perhaps at a bit of a cut price.
Joe played in the Premier League as well, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I think we'd probably be looking at 30, maybe max.
That's too much. I was going to say 20.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, exactly. So I can't imagine it's going to be big numbers. My prediction, my transfer prediction is, I don't know if it's a big call this, but obviously with Kylian Mbappe leaving PSG.
Where's this going?
I could see. Hear me out.
Mileta Rajovic going to replace Mbappe.
Hear me out. No. I'm saying João Pedro to leave Brighton to go and replace Mbappe at PSG, and Yasser Asprilla to go to Brighton. That's what I could see happening this summer.
I'm lost for words.
I wasn't going to say Rajovic off to PSG to replace Mbappe.
I've just said Yasser Asprilla, PSG, and Mbappe in the same sentence.
I could see João going to PSG, and I think I could see Asprilla going to Brighton.
Let us know what you think of that sort of transfer domino opinion from Sam prediction, if you want to call it that. Laura's made a great point. Sam's still on the Rotherham cheap beers at £2.10.
I love it.
I value Asprilla at 25 with 5 million add-ons. I think his age, I think the amount he's played, I think you pay a lot for the potential as well. I think the fact that he can play in two positions is an asset. Especially, I think the fact that he's now in the senior squad for the national level as well is a game changer. I think. I mean, when we sold Pedro, he wasn't. You got to think about that. The development of Asprilla's. I think Asprilla's development's been quicker than João's, if that makes sense. I think João took, when he first made his appearance at Tranmere, you remember it was January 2020 in that FA Cup game, and Batman, I think, had a bit of a howl at that game, if I remember correctly. And I remember seeing him and thought, okay, this guy looks so raw, but he hadn't built out physically. And that's probably one thing about Asprilla that I look at him and think, does he need to bulk up a little bit in terms of he's going to play in the Prem? But the way he can skip past players in the Championship and the way he can throw his body about and use his body so well, Charlie, is so impressive. But it's now 2 goals in a week, which are just the technique. Honestly, there was an angle behind the goal that John Parslow, a shout out to John, he shared, and I retweeted it. And you see the ball basically when it leaves his foot just rise and rise and rise, and he's hit it so sweetly. And he said in his post match that he didn't even think twice about hitting it. And I think that's probably the confidence that we're seeing from him. But what is it about Asprilla's game that's going to attract so much interest, do you think?
I think, like you said, the fact that now he's scoring goals is a huge thing. That's why I think, personally, that clubs will go look at him instead of Kone and Andrews. I think that's my feeling. I know Pozzo's people are kind of saying they might be trying to get as much money, but I think they also can be very stubborn. And if the offers aren't right, I think maybe they'll cash on in Asprilla, but Kone and Andrews will stay, which would be great. But that's just my prediction. Yeah, the fact that he's putting in goals, I think you just watch him play. His touch is immaculate. His passing range. We saw earlier on in the season some of the through balls he's been put on. I wanted to see a bit more of that, especially when Emmanuel Dennis is playing. Now we've got a bit of pace up front and some movement. But yeah, I just think he's magic. He's lovely to watch. I'm still getting over that goal against Norwich. It was an absolute screamer, and I think now he's in confidence. Him coming off that left wing is great to see. And look, that's the model. Hopefully he keeps it up. And talking of model, there's one thing that I kind of wanted to raise again, and I don't know if you guys saw, but former Watford Academy graduate Bosun Lowell, Irish lad who we got, I think around 2019, 2020. He's like a centre half or left back. He got Watford Academy Graduate of the Year for us 1 year. And then we did try and tie him down, but he ended up going to Celtic. He's now gone on loan to Fleetwood, and he's absolutely smashing it. Scored a screamer yesterday. And like this Irish fan are saying, he's a freak of nature, quite possibly the best central midfield prospect we have in Irish football. He has the potential to play 100 games. Like, he has everything, and my favourite player to watch. And it just made me think, we saw, like you're seeing now, Harry Amass, he's been playing with United's first team recently. And we're getting these young, exciting, talented players. And I'm just thinking that these guys are looking at Watford and they think I just don't think. I think with the Pozzos, you're either getting these gems from all around the world. We've seen Richarlison, Pedro, Asprilla, Martins, and I think that's come at a cost with the academy graduates. I think where we're not giving them as much trust, or the pathway is not as good to our first team. Whereas if you look at Ryan Andrews, who knows where he would be if Chris Wilder didn't give him the chance. So if we gave more of him a chance, I just think it's a real shame. And I think maybe as a club, we're getting that talent through the door. We need to be doing a bit better to keep them in and giving them more first team opportunities. What do you guys think to that? Or do you think, no, we're being a bit greedy here? Like we're seeing these boys like João Pedro and Asprilla. Sam, like, what do you make of that kind of young player model that we've got?
Yeah, I just want to start off actually with a shout out to Hurtado, who supposedly, having had a really good start to his loan spell at Gillingham, has done some damage to his knee, I believe. And I think it's looking like the loan is going to be terminated by the sounds of it, so he can get treatment back at Watford. So wishing him all the best, because it's a real shame. I watched the highlights reel of him the other day and he seemed to be doing really, really well down at Gillingham. So best of luck to him. But yeah, Charlie, I think I agree with you, because I think you really get these connections and special when the special moments come up with these Watford players. And I think particularly over the last 18 months, two of my favourite Watford moments have been, for example, Toby Adeyemo scoring that goal against Blackpool and Ryan Andrews breaking through and scoring that goal at home to Birmingham. Obviously he scored again away at Plymouth as well. So I think, I don't know the intricacy. How do I say that word? Intricacy. That's the one. Yeah, there's the English student for you. But I think that the way that the academy setup works in England, I'm not sure if either of you could explain it a bit more in terms of category A, category B, category C. But I think when you do have promising players at the ages of 14 to 16, that it's very likely that they'll move on to a category A academy in one of the bigger clubs, which is what we've seen with the likes of Harry and Mass. I'm not sure if either of you know a bit more on how that works, but I think that even if we gave these players opportunities, I think the way the system is a disadvantage to Watford.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs. I know we're not a top tier academy that I think we once used to be, right, Charlie? I mean, when Nick Cox was the head of academy at Watford and the Harefield Academy was going on, the amount of players we were producing was ridiculous, really. And a lot of them were getting the pathway through to the first team because we had to, right? We didn't have the finances to bring in players. So we had to lean on that quite a bit. And I think since Gino's come in, that's probably less likely to happen, because obviously we had that multi-club ownership model where we can lean on Udinese instead of looking to the academy for those players. Having said that, I think what you said, Charlie, both things can be true. I think we should be creating a better first team pathway. But I also think we will always lose players to the bigger clubs now, because if in the case of Bosun Lawal, it's Celtic, you look at someone like Jadon Sancho, it's Manchester City, you look at Adrian Blake leaving to Utrecht, you look at Harry Nass, who's gone to Manchester United.
I don't think Saka was actually in the academy.
Is he not with us?
No. We can claim him though.
And I think the main thing is that you know, those clubs are massive opportunities as well, and they're going to be sold the dream to sign for those clubs. So I do completely agree with you, Charlie. The pathway could be a lot better, and it probably hasn't been since Pozzo's come to the club. I can only think of a few names at the top of my head. Tommy Hoban being one, but he was already through before the Pozzos had joined. Ryan Andrews is an absolute rarity to actually come through and play regularly first team football. Brandon Mason under Mazzari got a run out. But Andrews is the only one actually who's come through, been given an opportunity, and we've actually allowed him to play a lot of games. So I think I think not to sit on the fence, but I think it is a bit of both. We could create better opportunities, but unfortunately the position we're in and the fact that teams can now poach these players through the academy. If Celtic, United, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal come calling, then these players aren't going to turn it down at all, I don't think.
Definitely, yeah. I think the best way as well that these players learn is just by playing as well at the highest level possible. And yes, they'll make mistakes, but I always think as well fans are always going to be slightly more patient with players coming through the academy who are one of our own, so to speak. I think we've seen that with Ryan Andrews. I think we all know that there are parts to his game that need working on. But I think fans are more patient with that because they've seen the academy pathway is there. So, yeah, it definitely needs working on.
It's going to be interesting what happens and how the club have dealt with Shaq Ford, who's obviously had 2 good loan spells. He played pre-season. Val was using him as a 6 at some point, which maybe he gets in the Watford best 11. Who knows? But he's really getting that retention up. But he's done excellently. I think he scored recently again for Leyton Orient. So it's going to be interesting to see how he comes into the team. I know when speaking to Wayne Andrews, Ryan's dad, he was kind of saying how close those guys are coming up through the academy. So it'd be great to see those 2 playing for Watford. And it's like, I just thought, like, especially FA Cup, Chesterfield, I'd have loved to seen Jack Greaves get some minutes. I know he's been around the first team squad, but even Southampton, I feel like there's a bit more of an opportunity. We could have done a bit better, but it is what it is.
Even a couple of loans at Kings Langley this week. I don't know if you guys saw that. Adid Poco obviously played for us at Reading away on loan there. Striker, 18 years old, and there was a goalkeeper as well who went on loan. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, no, just talking about Ryan Andrews, one of our own. Huge shout out to him. Managed to get his shirt yesterday.
Go on, show it.
Smells of Watford's finest right back. So huge thank you to Ryan for that. Really appreciate it, mate.
What club is he going to next time? PSG?
PSG, yeah. Wait, I'm trying to. With Klopp leaving Liverpool, like you could see perhaps Trent might be a bit unhappy now. So, Liverpool's next right back will be Ryan Andrews, I reckon.
Do you know what? I've actually sat on that Asprilla evaluation, and I think I went a bit big with 25. I think I'm going to go. I'm a man of my word. I'm happy to say when I'm wrong. I think we'll look at about 20.
I agree.
20 all in as a package. I think that's probably the right amount. I think 25 plus 5 is a bit too much, unless he has an amazing end to the season. I think £20 million. I think just looking at his transfer marks, I know that's not always the best litmus test, but when he left Envigado in Colombia, the fee was around, reportedly, according to this, €3 million. So the profit will be pretty substantial, and he's one of our most sellable assets. Someone who isn't probably a sellable asset at the minute, Charlie, is Milita Rajovic. Now, we bought him for £1.3 million. I wanted to touch on his performance yesterday because a lot of Rotherham fans have said they couldn't believe how poor he was up front. I have to say, I see it 2 ways with Milita. On the one hand, if you'd said to me at the start of the season, we'd sign a guy for £1.3 million and he'd get us double figures, I would have snapped your hand off. There's no doubt about it. But when you watch the amount of minutes that we do as Watford fans, and I'm not speaking on behalf of all Watford fans, I think we can tell that he is struggling and there's quite a few weaknesses to his game away from those numbers. Is that harsh, or genuinely, because I felt a little bit sorry for him yesterday, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, it's hard because I feel like we talk about this every week and I don't have too much different answers. Like, yeah, he scored his 10th goal, didn't he, against Norwich? I'd have liked to know how much distance all of his goals combined are, because he loves to tap in the boy. But yeah, I just think we've misprofiled him massively, and I don't think it's the best bit of recruitment. Look, he's a good character, which is, I think, important when we're having this rebuild. But I just think we thought we were getting someone a bit more powerful, stronger, who can lead the line, hold things up. And that's just simply not the case. Look, he hasn't been playing football for that long, and he's come from, I think, Denmark, 2nd division, only 2 years ago. So it's exactly what you get on the tin. I also don't think we play to a poacher like him. Sema was playing yesterday again. I can't remember too many crosses we're putting in and trying to stretch them. So, look, I don't think it's a great one. We didn't pay a lot for him. Like, Bayer was 5 million, so it's all relative in terms of who's the best buy. You could argue Rajovic has got a lot more goals. So it is what it is. I don't think there's any... You can't be constructive, or nothing's going to help just slagging him off every game. Like, if he's playing for us, we need to support him as fans. We can criticise him. But I don't think he's going to be Val's number one when Bayo comes back. Am I right in saying that Dennis was pretty central yesterday when he came on?
Sam?
I think I'd had too many beers, to be honest with you.
What's that to you?
So there's a few comments rolling in, so we will get to them in just a moment. Dennis, I agree with you, Charlie. Dennis, if he's going to start, if he's going to play, he's got to start he's got to play centrally, right? I think we can all agree on that, especially his performance at Rotherham. And Rio's confirmed that he did play through the middle when he came on. I was getting more distracted by just us hanging on for the 3 points, to be honest, because it was one of those, actually, if we had lost yesterday, I'm not saying people would have panicked, but people would have gone, Rotherham bottom of the league on 19 points at the time. We've lost. And you never know if you get on that bad run, like we said, Charlie, towards the end of the season, you could just start to get dragged into something which you didn't need to be dragged into. But that's pretty much off the cards, I think, now. Dennis came in centrally, but there was a few comments on Rajovic. So Charlie says, wasn't Rajovic linked with Ipswich, though? He, reportedly was. Charlotte makes the point that Rajovic needs an experienced striker to take him under his wing. Where is Troy when you need him? And interestingly, you mentioned Troy, Charlotte, because when Troy first came in, I don't know if you lads remember, in I think that season where we were playing away to Norwich and Danny Graham scored 2, Eustace scored 1. Sam got the shirt for that yesterday, by the way, so that's the power of Twitter. Troy started on the right, and I remember that season, he was pretty raw. Like, he didn't look great at all. And it took him time, and look what Troy went on to achieve at Watford. Now, what I'm saying with that is, there is an element that it is quite quick to judge Rajovic based on what we've seen. But having said that, Sam, is there anything that you've seen to suggest that he could be a success at Watford? Or do you think people are being harsh?
I think it's a bit of both. I don't think that there's probably a future for him here beyond the summer, to be honest with you. That being said, I think people are very harsh on him, saying that he's one of the worst players to play for Watford. He's not, I don't think. In my opinion, from what I've seen a lot worse. I think back to... Well, but the name came up earlier. I'd say Andre Gray was a worse signing, to be honest with you, than Rajovic. But I think
that sounds like a video.
Charlie, clip that up, please, mate. Get that on the social.
Worst Watford signings ranked sounds like a video. Sorry, Sam.
I think back to his debut Coventry away where he scored 2, and I remember I got slated by a few people saying that I didn't actually think he was that good, even though he'd scored 2 goals. And I think it was sort of dismissed at the time as, yeah, if you've got a striker scoring goals, that's all you ultimately need. But I think as the goals have slowly dwindled out, I think it's become very apparent that when he's not scoring goals, he's not offering anything at all. I think it's very rare that I've seen a Watford player like that who at times when he's on the pitch, and I don't want to seem too harsh, it does sometimes feel like we've got 10 men on the pitch when he's on. And I'll never have anything too much against him because I think, like Charlie said, I think he's a good character. I think he's someone who works really hard. I just think he's a bit out of his depth at this level, and I really hope he proves me wrong with that.
Rio says, what level striker is Rajovic, and would you sell in the summer, Sam?
I probably would if the right offer came in. I mean, we signed him for what, 1.5, 1.2? What was it?
Right, yeah, I think it was 1.3.
Yeah, so I think we probably could get a return on that, a close return on that. To be honest, I don't think English football suits him, so I could see him going abroad if we did sell him.
Charlie, I know you're about to whip out a shirt.
Well, I know Sam got a shirt yesterday. He's showing off there, and I've seen in the comments about another Watford striker, but you can't beat this for a shirt, can you? What a player he was, by the way.
I love it.
What did the message say?
Mine's a whiskey or something like that. I'm not too sure. I don't know if Jacob gets that joke anyway.
Straight up.
Don't you worry about that, mate. There was a comment, actually. I think Charlotte probably of that timing. Success is not a success. A couple of comments before we get a little bit. Well, we kind of
Bailey's. Sorry,
Bailey's. Yeah. I was going to say whiskey. What are you drinking?
Sorry, sorry.
Oda, you should have seen Ross Jenkins back in the 80s glory days. He started off like this, but scored goals. He went on to be a legend. Charlotte says spot on. Ross Jenkins was compared to a giraffe at the time. We've already answered. Would you sell Rajovic in the summer? GT Love Ross Jenkins kept and he went on to be a sensation. Tamas Priskin wasn't when he joined wasn't great. Actually, fun story about Tamas Priskin. If you remember Watford's High Street back in 2011, so this is a good 13 years ago. I was in Kismet Kebab, which has been renamed Morley's Chicken, the well-known chicken shop. Other chicken shops are available. Tamas Priskin was sat next to me eating a doner kebab with his partner at the time. So
I've actually got a Priskin anecdote as well.
Okay.
What season? 2006, maybe 07? We had Chelsea in the FA Cup on TV under the lights. You two were probably about 2 or 3 at the time.
Anelka scored, no?
Well, yeah. So it was a later kickoff. I think I must have been 18, so it was enjoying being young and drinking, and I was very intoxicated. And I went with two friends. Anyway, I was loving life. Priskin runs through. I think he chipped Peter Cech, and I'm just so excited and so lubricated that I actually got thrown out somehow on Vicarage Road. But my mates who came with me ended up wandering into the stadium, and they went up in the VIP booth and got pictures with like Ray Wilkins and some Chelsea legends. And then I woke up the next day. I was like, "Oh, what was the score? Did we win?" And I didn't even know that Anelka scored a hat trick. I think we lost 3-1.
What a story!
What a story! But also, that was a great finish from Priskin.
Unbelievable.
Great finish. I think that put us 1-0 up, or it was a 1-1. Yeah, put us 1-0
Scenes.
up. Absolute scenes. Okay, just to wrap up on from Tamas Priskin and Bailey's to Rotherham away. Sam, just to wrap up on this one, there wasn't really anything else to really say about the game. Do we want to touch on this Asprilla goal any more than we did it? But we know it's an absolute beauty the way he caught it. One thing I wanted to mention, Sam, just in terms of, and your I'll throw this one over to you about sort of what this means for the season. I always ask this question after a result. In terms of where that leaves Watford in the league, if we get the league table up now, that leaves us in 11th, 33 games played, 44 points. So we are 7 points off 6th, and we are 12 points off the relegation zone. I mentioned this, I asked the same question to Charlie last week. How are you seeing the last 13 games of the season now? What's your mindset as a fan?
I think if we're being realistic, I think the season's done, to be honest. I think it would take a miraculous run for us to get into the playoffs. We've got some really, really hard games still to play. We have to play against Leeds still, Southampton still. We have to go to Middlesbrough, Sunderland. We have to play. Hull. It would be a miracle if we broke into the playoffs now. And also, I think we've got enough to avoid a relegation battle of any sort. So I think we'll roughly finish where we are now. What I'm interested in, that I want as my aim between now and the end of the season, is to beat last season's tally. At the moment, with our points per game, I think we're expected to finish, 1 point off our total from last season, which I think was 63 points. I think we're about to get 62 points or something like that. So I think if we're able to beat last season's tally, I would be really, really happy with it. But on a more basic level, just carry on enjoying this season. I've really enjoyed it. And if it is the last few weeks that we'll get to watch Asprilla play football, yeah, let's just soak it in before he makes that move over to replace Mbappe with Zhao.
Just comparing last season, so we finished in 11th with 63 points, as Sam says, 16 wins, 15 draws, 15 defeats. If you compare that to this season now, 33 games played, 11 wins, 11 draws, 11 defeats on 44 points. And interestingly, I've got the stat here, which basically compares where we were this time last season. If I can get up. Here we go. So we're actually 6 points worse off than we were at this stage last season. And at this point, Billitt's just been sacked.
That's about right. I think Wilder came in around March.
And we did we did 3 new manager videos last season, so it's nice to only do one. Charlie, just on this question before we move on, last thing on this one. Ben Thornhill, great comment. Season of 3 parts so far. First 10 games, we end up 21st. Our last 10 games has us in 19th in the form table. That middle 13 games, we were 5th. Why the huge contrast, do you think?
Age of squad. If you look at our average age, I think we're around 22, 23. Quick look at what it was yesterday. It was 26 yesterday, who we had played Cyril, to bring it up a bit. Yeah, Val said it. Again, I thought Val did a really, really good pre-match against Leicester, when he kind of said about the reality, the age of the squad, the inconsistencies, the size of squad we've got. And I think that's just why we're being inconsistent, which is fine. I think it'd be a really good target now to finish in 10th or in that top 10. But I was looking at the fixtures earlier, and I don't know if it was because I was slightly hungover, but I was like, Huddersfield at home after we've had a week to train properly, which would be the first time in a while.
Huge that.
Well, followed by Millwall, who are not in a good moment at all. They're getting dragged into the relegation fight. Swansea also in a bad way. Swansea at home. That's the midweek game, post-match pint. And then Coventry on the weekend. That weekend, that's at home. I'm thinking if we can get 3 positive results in our next 3 games, it doesn't necessarily all have to be wins, 2 wins and a draw, going into that Coventry game with a bit more momentum, a bit more of the squad fully fit. We've got obviously Ngaki coming back. Livermore was a bit more rested. Hopefully Ryan Andrews now can play more. Hopefully Dennis has been integrated into the squad a bit more. I just looked at those games and I was thinking, could we? If we not that we're going to get playoffs, but I think if we go on a good run now, we could have a really positive end of the season. So I think a target would be really good, like you say. If we could get what we did last season or better, considering we'd do it without João Pedro, Ismail Assar, I think that would be a really good achievement with kind of what Val's had to deal with and the squad at his disposal.
Yeah, agreed. I think that the thing though about it, Charlie, like I want a positive end to the season, but in a weird way, obviously I want Watford to win every single game, but I don't think I'd want us to go up. I think it would almost be like the worst thing that would happen to us.
Did you watch Sheffield United today?
Mate, I'm kind of sat there going, I want us to get in the playoffs more for the sort of like, it's another couple of games. A trip to Wembley would be great. Obviously, you want Watford to win every game for now to the end of the season. But if we went up, it would...
Jacob, don't worry about it, mate.
Don't worry.
I think just on that, I think I've watched Sheffield United 3 times this season, and I think they lost 8-0 to Newcastle. They got battered against Aston Villa. I think it was like 6-1 or something like that, and then 5-0 today. So,
and that was with them. Those guys spent what 30-40 million.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When we went up, we gave someone a packet of crisps for.
Who would you? I mean, it's been a bit of not been the best 18 months or so for Chris Wilder in football. What would you say was worse, our team towards the end of last season or this Sheffield United team?
It's hard to say because I've watched too much of Sheffield United, but I actually thought they're looking hard. They looked okay. They beat them lot, didn't they, last week? So, and they've got some good players like Hamer. McAtee's an exceptional player. But anyway, we digress. Good comment from Rio though. Before we do the
what should be the aim for next season, lads? So I predicted. What did we predict at the start of the season? I said we'd finish 14th. That was my prediction. Sam,
I think I said lower. I thought we'd be in a relegation scrap, which is why I think I'm quite happy, to be honest, because I think we've already surpassed my expectations. I thought we'd be down there, like 15th, 16th. So,
Charlie,
I think middle. But what Rio's saying, what do we think next season? I think if we finish around mid-table this season, I think next season, why can't we go for that 6th playoff spot? I think that should be the target. If we can keep hold of at least Kone, Andrews, the squad, no Val system. We've had a manager for a year for the first time since Javi. So everyone should kind of know the fitness levels. We should be in a strong position. I think that should be the aim next season if everything goes to plan between now and the end of the season. And when I mean go to plan, I mean good vibes.
I think a lot of it rests on stuff out of Val's hands, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I can't. Honestly, Rio, if I'm honest, mate, the aim probably should be playoffs. But until I see the squad, until I see what investment we put into the team, until I actually see a clear plan from upstairs about where this sort of team's going, I'm not entirely sure. I feel like Val's giving us a clear idea of what he wants, but I'm not sure I know from upstairs what the aim is going forward, really, because it seems like a lot of it is up in the air, Sam.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult season next year, to be honest with you. I think with everything going on in the background, we don't know where we're at in terms of the takeover or investment. I can't imagine they're going to invest too much money in it. I'll give the analogy again. I saw on Twitter the other week that someone who's selling their house isn't going to go and buy new furniture just before moving out. So I can't imagine investment's going to be too big in the summer. On top of that, like we said, we could sell 1 or 2 out of Asprilla, Andrews, and Ismail Kone as well. So I think it's going to be a tough one next season, to be honest. And I just hope we stick with Val going into next season because I think he's done a fantastic job.
And we'll cover it all here on WD18. Now, as I just said, smash the like for the boys, guys. We're on 25 likes. Incentive for likes, guys, 100. I think we get to 100 on this. I know there's 83, so actually maybe not. Let's go. Why not? Let's go 100. 100 likes. If we can get to 50 before the end of the stream, we massively appreciate it. It does really help us out in terms of promoting the video and getting it to many as people as possible. Lads, let's do it. Picking Watford's best starting 11. Now, I'm going to bring a graphic up for people listening on audio. It's a makeshift starting 11 lineup with the Watford shirt and red numbers. Now, I know that got a bit of an odd reaction before we started, but that's the vibe. 4-3-3 formation, the formation that Val's utilised most this season. I'm going to fill it in, and we're going to debate each position. So, goalkeeper. I think this is pretty easy, right, Charlie? And let us know in the comment section, obviously, agree, disagree on who you think our best 11 is.
Yeah, Hamer, I don't think we need to spend too much time on it unless anyone's got any objections, but I think he's been superb since he's come in. It's going to be an interesting look towards the summer. We've done a couple of videos now, but we think player Watford should sign, but I think that's an area where we need to address in the summer with Hamer's age and the Daniel Batman situation.
Right back, Sam?
Ryan Andrews, I think it's got to be. Like I say, I love Tom Delay, but he's a lot stronger in midfield. And I think when you've got an asset like Andrews like that, we've rested him for the last few weeks. Hopefully he's in good shape going into the final part of the season.
So I'm going to do an easy centre-back, and that's Wesley Hoot as our club captain. He has to go in as our only left-footed centre-back, but also he is one of the two best options we have. Now, the right centre-back is an interesting one because you've got three options, really. You've got Ryan Porteous, you've got Francisco Sierralta, or you've got Matty Pollock, unless I've missed someone. I'm pretty sure that's the three options there. Charlie, who did you have in your team?
Yeah, because I was thinking about this last week and I put a tweet out. I went for Pollock just from what I've seen this season and the games he's played. I think he's kind of a bit limited in terms of his passing range, but I think that's where he kind of him and Hoot quite complement each other quite well, because I think we've seen Hoot's stats, his passing, his progressive passing is like top of the league of any defender. He's got that lovely switch. And I just think Pollock's a kind of box defender that we've needed in this season, and sometimes we've been a bit weak on set pieces. I thought Pollock was exceptional again yesterday. I think him and Wesley Hoot kind of level on the aerial duels one, defended the box really well. And I think those two complement each other quite well, where Hoot's a bit better on the ball and can help with our build-up, but Pollock's a defender who's still really young, and we don't know how he's developed with more game time. Could he go on to be like a really top centre-half for the club? So every time he's played for Watford, I think he's done well. I think he's showed good resilience, especially after that Millwall game. He's had a lot of time on the sideline. He's been nothing but a superb professional off the pitch. So yeah, I think Pollock's done enough to get his chance.
Yeah, spot on, Sam. You're probably best to touch on it as well about Matty Pollock, because he's had to wait at his time at Watford. It looked like at one point he was going to be leaving. He handed in a transfer request, as reported in the January window. I think there was a couple of Championship teams, there was a couple of League One teams. There was interest back in Scotland as well. What is it about Pollock so far that's impressed you, and why would you put him as the sort of next choice next to Hoot?
100%, yeah. He's desperate to play for Watford, and he loves the club so much. He loves the supporters. He loves being at Vicarage Road, and he really wanted to stay. It seems by the end of the January window when he was playing. At the end of the day, as a footballer, your career is limited, and you need to have minutes, which is why he was looking to leave. But now he is playing. No doubt that he should be playing. Yes, as Charlie said, there are parts of his game which are limited. I think the two biggest concerns are his passing, and I think his pace as well. But I think everything else he offers. He's got a head like a brick, which can win everything in the air. And I think he's a brilliant 1v1 tackler as well. I think all three of the other options that could go next to Who in terms of Sierralta, Pollock, Porteous, I think they've all got their limitations, but I think Pollock's probably the best out of the three.
Sure. Okay. This one's an interesting one. And I don't, no explanation. Let's just give our shout. So left back, Charlie.
Lewis for me for this season.
Sam?
James Morris.
I'm going to go James Morris as well.
Why?
Well, I'll explain Morris first. I have to say, every time I've watched Morris this season, he hasn't let us down. I think defensively in the one-on-one, he's been good. In the tackle, he's been strong. Yes, he's not the quickest of left backs. Yes, he's not the sexiest of left backs. He's not going to do something that's going to, he's a trusty pair of hands, James Morris, for sure. And I think one thing you guarantee with him is you get 7 out of 10 every single week. And I think actually that sort of, I don't know what it is, but I feel like James Morris knows his limitations where I don't think Lewis does, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is I think Morris knows when to do things at certain times because I think he knows that's kind of, he knows his level. Whereas I think with Lewis, he's played at a lot higher level before. He played in the Premier League. He played at the top end of the Championship. He knows he can reach probably higher levels, but he's not doing the consistent performances week in, week out. And in this Watford team, I'd much rather someone give us a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10 consistently than a 3 to a 7 to a 4 to an 8. I'd much rather that personally. So James Morris over Lewis every time.
I just think Lewis has got more ability, and if he gets a run of games and he could kind of work his way into form. Granted that he hasn't, I think he's been hasn't been as impressive as we had hoped. We thought he was coming in with a bit of pedigree. I think going forward he offers a lot, probably more defensively. But yeah, he has been slightly disappointing this season. And I think maybe I'll just concede this one 2-1.
Mate, you got to stand by it, right? Unless I explained it that well, but I don't think I did.
No,
Sam,
you had a good argument.
Go on, Sam. Why James Morris?
Yeah, I think Lewis has been a difficult one. I think he started the season slowly. I think in that middle part of the season where Watford were doing well, I think his performance has improved. But then he came out with injury and since then just hasn't looked at the races at all, particularly at Norwich the other night. I think he really, really struggled. And I think to be honest, I think that there's not too many differences between the two in terms of Lewis and Morris. And just thinking about who's going to be here longer and who the experience is going to benefit more, I'd go with James Morris, to be honest with you, particularly with, there's a good chance that Morris could be our left back next season as well. So might as well give him those minutes now while our season's pretty much done, I think.
Sorry, I just saw this comment, so I thought it was interesting. Ken Semmer at left back, Jacob?
Oh, I don't think he's a natural left back for me. I think he's a little wing back. I always thought Semmer was. I think that Ivic 3 at the back when he was playing as that left wing back, that was his best position because it allowed him to get forward. Whereas I think actually the role of a Val left back this season has been to overlap at times, but maybe not to do it as much as Semmer would do, if that makes sense. So I'd probably some of the comments cracking me up here. I'd probably keep keep Morris and then have Semmer as a left winger. And that's been his best position this season. Every time I've seen Semmer at left wing, he's been really, really solid. MCA makes a great point. I'd rather give Morris minutes with Lewis being on loan is another thing to mention. DM, Charlie, there's only one man, surely?
Yeah, I think the midfield... Huh? Yeah. I thought Sierrata did okay yesterday. Bless him. I think the midfield speaks for itself unless anyone... But I think that Livermore, Kayembe, Kone, and I think that's one of the reasons why Val played Kayembe yesterday is because he knows how important this midfield is, and we've lost control a bit recently. So if we can get these three back on the pitch playing together, I think they've shown a lovely bit of balance. Livermore's been probably the biggest surprise of the season. I think he's been great. He came on yesterday to help see the game out. I think Kone, we've talked about him a lot. Exciting player at times. I feel like he's been trying to grab the team in the game by the scruff of the neck and do it all himself. And Kayembe, again, we're talking about Rajovic saying, he's not going to develop. Who would have thought Kayembe would have become an important player? But for me, I think that's the midfield three. That's when those three were kind of playing in those games around Christmas, Blackburn, Preston, those three were kind of purring. So I think they're our strongest midfield three.
Any questions, any qualms over that, Sam?
That's spot on, to be honest with you. I think you're right, Charlie. I think it was a bit peculiar that Val put Kayembe straight in there when he sometimes seems to ease players back in, but I think it's because he recognises how important Kayembe is. Interesting, I know we've put Morris at left back here, but I think Val in his head has almost got that left-hand side locked in as Lewis, Kayembe and Semmer. I think he referenced that a couple of press conferences ago. I know you mentioned it earlier, but he's a great talker about. I love watching his press conferences. I think we get a great insight into a lot of things. I think realistically, that will be the left-hand side that we see now when everyone's fit. I think the midfield three is nailed on there.
I think one man I wanted to shout out yesterday, I actually forgot to mention it in our sort of review, was Georgie, actually, because when the game was crying out for a bit of energy and a runner, I thought he did provide that. We mentioned on our last show about his role in this Watford team, and I said that you can't play Chatfordetzi and Kone in the same team. And obviously, Lewis Ince came into midfield as well, and then played left back, and then ended up at right wing. He was all over the shop. But Chatfordetzi, I thought, really was in a game that didn't have a lot of quality. I thought he brought energy to the game and really did improve our play when he came on. Let us know if you agree with that three. So Livermore is the 6, Kone and Kayembe making up the midfield 3. And then we move on to the front 3. So let's do the 2 wingers first, Charlie. As Sam said, is Sema nailed on for that left wing?
Should we be having a conversation about Sema? How do you think he's performed this season?
I think he's been pretty consistent. I think he's been in that sort of 7 out of 10 every week for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I've got maybe high expectations from him, but I think I've been wanting a bit more. As a senior player, I've wanted him to get his foot on the ball and drive us up the pitch more. I just want to have a look at his stats. I don't know. I don't know if I want more of him, and I don't know if he gets a bit of a free pass because he's Ken and we all love him. To be honest, he would be my left winger. I just think when he is on his game, he's too powerful. Defenders can't deal with him. I love his little ball rolls, beating a yard and kind of getting to that byline and cutting it back. Has he been as good as I hope this season? Maybe not, but interesting what people think in the comments about Sema. Is he disappointed or has he been good this season?
So HJ in the comment section has said, Sema left wing for consistency and work rate. And Who's Our Film says, bring back Samuel Kalu. Consistency and work rate is probably the 2 of Sema's most standout qualities, Sam. But I also think his crossing has improved over his time at Watford. I understand the issues with Sema about maybe he needs to add more end product to his game. I understand that point from Charlie. But I think in terms of what you can expect with Sema, I feel like you can always know what he's going to produce. Whereas with Martins, I honestly couldn't tell you most weeks how he's going to play. It could be 1 minute, it could be an 8. Next minute, it could be a 3. It goes back to that Lewis conversation about the consistency of performances. How do you see that left wing debate?
Yeah, got to be Ken. It's too unpredictable with Martins. You don't know whether you're going to get, like you say, a 8 and 9 out of 10 or a 2 or a 3 out of 10. I think with Ken, you know exactly what you're going to get. I think Charlie, you're right as well. I think there probably have been times this season where I could have expected a bit more from Ken. But I just think he's reliable every week. He's got the work rate. And I'm looking as well at James Morris, who sometimes might need a bit of help. And I think Ken Sema tracking back, I think could provide him with that as well. So I'd go with Ken. I love watching him. I think he's such a unique player because he is so left-footed. And you'd think that defenders would have that locked down in terms of keeping on his left foot. But he's so powerful that he just seems to get past all of them anyway. So, yeah, I'd stick Ken in there. I really, really like him. I think he's been fantastic for Watford on the whole. And, yeah, hopefully a good end to the season for him.
Ken Sema scored once and got 4 assists this season. Martins has scored 5 and got 2 assists. And there was a point earlier on the season we were saying Martins has been our best player. So,
but does that tell the whole story, Charlie? About
yeah, but how often has he played in his actual position?
Who, Martins?
He's been moved out to that right recently, and I don't know. It just throwing it out there. I think you're right. I'd have Sema because you just know he's the banker, but I still think we can be getting a bit more out of Martins.
Yeah, I think there are mitigating factors with Martins. I think obviously he's been playing on the wrong side, but also I don't know him personally. But it seems that since he had that personal bereavement, I don't think he's looked the same player. So he might be a case of, I think Lil Warren said it a while ago, I think he's a player that you have to play back into form, but we have to keep him in his best position as well. So, yeah, interesting one, but I just don't think he's been good enough recently.
HJ says, interesting stats on Martins, to be fair. This is what he does, Charlie Zazera. He brings the stats to the table. There was one comment from Charlotte. Sema has been badly disrupted by injury this season, which is something to mention. Laura says, love Sema, but his corners need work. Mind you, so do all of our corners. Huzar says, I think Martins plays better on the left than when he played on the right, but overall probably Ken. So we're going to go with Ken Sema at left wing. Now right wing, I'm going to take this one. It has to be Yasser. It has to be Yasser. And actually, it's kind of frustrated me a little bit. He hasn't played more this season. I mean, look, the guy's got such good quality. I would say, along with Kone, probably our 2 most individually talented players. The question is, Sam, and probably a good one for you in the comments. Who has the highest ceiling, Ismail Kone or Yasser Asprilla?
I'm going to go Kone. I think Kone's got absolutely everything to thrive. I think Asprilla will have a great career as well. I just think Kone's powerful. Something that he's really worked on this season is way of pass. His passing is perfect now. That was a pass away at Norwich the other night, which was fantastic. I think Kone is a player when the game does not go
perfect, strong.
Not perfect, but I think he's able to weight his passes perfectly and more consistently than he was doing so previously, and he'll only get better with that. I think what I've been impressed with is when games going against Watford, he's really been able to sort of take it by the scruff of the neck and change the game, take control of the midfield, particularly without Kiembe in there recently. I think Kone's really shone. So I think Kone's probably got a higher ceiling than Asprilla, in my opinion, but both will go on to have great careers.
I'm going Yasser, Charlie.
Yep. I don't need to say anymore. The kid's special, and I actually disagree with Sam. I think Asprilla's got a lot more natural talent. Mine's been a bit of Phil Foden, the way he can control the ball. I think he's going to get a big move, and I think his talent in a better team, he could explode. Yeah, I think it's been a shame that we haven't seen the partnership of Asprilla and Andrews as much this season. I think with kind of Asprilla coming in on the left foot and Ryan Andrews overlapping, I think we could have utilised that a bit more. But yeah, I think Asprilla is going to be a special player.
What I would say about Yasser, when he starts game, I do want to see him hitting it off early, a lot quicker. I think it does take him some time to get into games. I think it's probably because he's a young player, and like we've said, he needs to grow into his body a bit more. But I do find that it sometimes takes until the second half for him to really hit his stride, which you can say that for a lot of this Watford team, to be fair.
Can I also just say, lastly, I know we've been going for over an hour, so thanks so much to everyone who's watched. We're almost there. I actually don't think the right is his best position at all. If you look at some of the best play from him this season, it's all come when he's drifted centrally. And I think that number 10 position is made for a team to come in, i.e. a Brighton, i.e. someone like that who go, look, you're going to play in the middle and you're going to basically keep everything ticking over. I had a bold shout ages ago and I said I'd build the team around Asprilla because he's got that much ability that he can change a game, and he's got that technical ability, as Charlie said, which is so rare, particularly in a young player like that in the Championship. I, for me, think he is a number 10 naturally and is someone that can play on the right if required. But the way Val plays, obviously, it lends itself to him playing from the right. But to wrap up this starting 11 is the striker position. And we're going to do this quick fire because we have been going for quite a while and it's almost 10 o'clock on a Sunday and EastEnders is probably starting soon. But Charlie, it's probably finished actually. Charlie, striker.
Jacob, everyone knows that EastEnders isn't on a Sunday.
Really? I'm not a fun watcher, to be fair. I'm more of a, do you know what? I might be more of a Love Island ITV2 plus one, man.
Yeah, I think the plus one's good. Anyway, it's got to be Dennis up front. I think we've had this argument. I think we spoke about it last week. Even glimpses yesterday, just when he gets the ball at his feet, I just feel like chaos is coming. Defenders don't know. He can skip past people. He hasn't had any shooting opportunities yet. He's dynamic. I think with kind of Sema or Asprilla, let's get a fluid front three. Let's get the ball to Dennis. We saw that cameo against Cardiff where we lost. I thought he looked really sharp, and he was our best player. We've got a week now until Huddersfield. Let's start him against Huddersfield. He's going to be playing against lesser quality defenders, so he should have the ability to really take us. We need to make use of this loan. I don't want another Areo, but Dennis, we need to make use of him because we've seen what he can do in the Premier League. So to have that Championship quality, to have him in the Championship, we need to get him playing it. And I think he will start, and I think he will start up front instead of wide next game.
And there's a few comments about playing Rajovic because of his goal record this season. The one thing I would say, if you're going to play Asprilla and Sema, players that, well, particularly Asprilla's case, who cuts in, I don't think Rajovic is the man. Having said that, Sema will get to the bar line and get balls across the box like he did at Rotherham at home in the reverse fixture. Sam, Dennis, is that the one for you?
Yeah, spot on. In terms of the pecking order, probably Dennis by Rajovic for me. Yeah, he's got to play.
Sweet. Well, that is Watford's best starting 11. Any final thoughts, lads, this week? How's it looking?
Great.
No, so I was just going to give a shout, like WD18 Cup. we're 5 weeks to go. It's coming around quickly. Obviously, it's great. We got Tom Cleverley coming down, but we just want as many people involved as possible. We're still looking for any cooks or bakers. We're looking for someone to come down, and we want some refreshments for all of our guests. Obviously, all the profits will go to Hertfordshire Mind and the Peace Hospice. So if anyone fancies helping us making some sandwiches or cakes or like a Tuck's sweet shop, that'd be really, really appreciated. But 5 weeks to go. Really looking forward to it. Hopefully, we'll have some other exciting announcements coming up, and also we'll be announcing soon our raffle and our auction, which should have some amazing prizes. Again, all raising money for two great causes.
Absolutely, as well said as Charlie mentioned there. The Watford auction, the WD18 auction, has some Watford gold in there, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. Sam, final thoughts, mate. Final messages to the fans.
Yeah, I thought we did brilliantly today, getting over an hour out of that Rotherham game. So love it, guys. Huge thank you though. A lot of people yesterday coming up saying hello, saying how much they love the channel. Thanks so much for introducing yourselves. It's great sort of putting faces to names.
No, it's just me.
Just Charlie.
How many beers had you had, Sam?
No, it's good though to see sort of names that we see in the comment section and on Twitter coming to say hello. So yeah, make sure to carry on saying hello at games. Up the Hornets. What a
Legend. Charlie Paul, when is it? 23rd of March at West Hart Sports Club, Saturday from 12 till 6. So if you want to come down, show your support, we've decided the teams. We are going to make a list if you want to play individually. That will be confirmed in due course. But we'd love to see as many of you down on the day as possible, even if you aren't playing, even if you're popping down for half an hour, get involved. The link will be in the description below to donate. Shout out to Huzo, who's been getting involved in the live chat. Peace, boys, take care. And Charlotte, what a legend, also put a few quid on Charlie's Just Giving page, which is much appreciated. So that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you so much to everyone who watched today. Please do leave a like on the way out if you enjoyed. Subscribe to WD18, turn on your post notifications, get involved in the WD18 Cup. That's about it. I've lost breath. Take care. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yours.